2024, we're here now. Hope you had a lovely New Year's. I've got a best of the year list coming up on the channel later on in the month, but until then, you may have noticed that films have continued releasing. They didn't just stop when the number 4 rolled itself onto the year date. They're carrying on. I want to chat about Priscilla. I don't know why I've framed that like I am talking about Priscilla. It's my review, that's why you're here. I saw this one pre-Christmas, but look, Christmas, I don't need to tell you, it was busy. So I've sort of sat on my thoughts on this one, mulling over it all until now when I can finally stand up and chat about this one, because this was a really wonderful little film. I had a good time with Sofia Coppola's latest directing effort. If you've not seen any Sofia Coppola films or heard of her, she had a famous dad. She's made good films. I should have led, but she's made good films, right? She did Lost in Translation, Virgin Suicides, Marie Antoinette. She's now come out with Priscilla, which is a telling of Priscilla and Elvis Presley's relationship from meeting up until separating. Shouldn't need to explain much more of that. Elvis Presley is Elvis Presley, Mr. Ho himself. Don't know why I did that, said I wouldn't. But I think all eyes have been on Priscilla, especially because we have quite recently had another different Elvis film in the form of Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, which was its whole own thing in itself. And the internet has just sort of smashed the two of these things together, done what the internet does best, and pitted two things against each other, because you could never enjoy, it's got to be one or the other, right? And would you believe Sofia Coppola's film here is entirely different to Baz Luhrmann's Elvis film. This one is not mainly centered on Elvis, it's centered on Priscilla, and I think that is the first immediate kind of reframing of this relationship that feels right at home in Sofia Coppola's ballpark in terms of direction and writing and the perspective that she's able to bring to all of her stories that she has done through her directing efforts before. She's a filmmaker that has obviously found a very good rhythm in exploring female kind of loneliness and isolation and the female perspective, I suppose, in all of her films. And every one of her films has this very kind of, I suppose, melancholic's not the right word, but a very kind of slower vibe to them all. And Priscilla definitely sees Coppola continuing that very clear and unique sensibility that she brings to all of her films. In terms of taking us through this relationship in a formal aspect, it's a very straightforward film in which we just sort of meet Priscilla, meet Elvis, see how the two's lives connect, and then watch what happens to these characters, more specifically what happens to Priscilla and her headspace within the environment of Elvis Presley as he was at the various different time periods this film goes through. But Coppola is able to, obviously, we know this at this point, very effortlessly mine a lot of really good meaty stuff out of quieter moments, out of people just sort of being in the same space together, interacting with each other. She does a really great job of creating a bigger picture around characters than you're maybe being told you're seeing on frame. I've always loved the way that she builds scenes around characters. She's really, really great at kind of setting the scene and placing characters in a specific environment, in a specific time period. Very good period stuff going on here, from costumes, from makeup, to music, all of that stuff just absolutely firing on all cylinders. But it never ever loses sight of Priscilla's perspective through this relationship, and that's what makes such, for me, an engrossing sort of wander through this really absurd and crazy relationship. There's been much said already about the way that the film kind of approaches the sort of grooming of Priscilla at a young age by Elvis and by the people around Elvis, and how it sort of takes that through the relationship. But I was really impressed by the way that Coppola kind of explores that a little bit more. I don't want to say nuanced, because it is quite clear in the film what is and isn't an uncomfortable thing to be happening between these people. But she definitely fills in a lot around these characters in a way which doesn't just feel like it's going Elvis bad grooming, you know? I mean, that's definitely one way of reading this film, but I like the way that it uses Priscilla to kind of highlight some of the aspects of Elvis as a character and his manipulation. I think that kind of manipulation of people, of environments, and of status in the film to get things is woven really finely in many different aspects of the film, outside of just, you know, the relationship between Priscilla and Elvis. But Kaylee Spenny here in the lead role as Priscilla, absolutely fantastic. I found her to be incredibly gripping and incredibly authentic as Priscilla. It's a performance of looks and I suppose kind of quiet moments as opposed to big dialogue heavy outbursts, which I think is the best way to go through this story. I think it's one of the other ways that Coppola is able to use her cast to really mine that sense of loneliness and claustrophobia that clearly came with this relationship and came with being with Elvis during these time periods where he is at the height of his fame and where everything is just kind of swarming around him. And Coppola does a great job as well of building the stuff around Priscilla. I mean, firstly, Jacob Elordi as Elvis, he's really, really great as well. I think he's a fantastic actor, actually, and he's been in a lot of films this year, and I really have enjoyed watching him kind of pop up and just be very, very good in things. He's really great as Elvis here, but I really love the way that Coppola kind of folds in all of the Elvis stuff around Priscilla. I mean, we have Priscilla's character, and then we have the relationship with Elvis, which is obviously the kind of, I suppose, second layer of narrative there. But Elvis's world, as it exists around Priscilla, is really, really interestingly captured and displayed to us as viewers. That being said, there are definitely moments which are more overt than others, and I don't think it's a hugely subtle thematic film, but I don't think that really takes away too much from its effectiveness, in my opinion. I still found it to be wholly engrossing overall. It does mean, though, that it does have a tendency to kind of meander a little bit, but I don't know, I kind of think at this point in Coppola's career, I kind of come to expect a certain level of meanderingness to her films. It's one of the qualities of her as a director which I quite enjoy. I don't think meandering through things is an innately bad thing if you're doing it interestingly and you're using it to mine certain things thematically from characters. Bonus point though, good soundtrack. I will give it that. I've sort of tended to step away from good soundtrack as a positive in my reviews as of late, because it can sometimes be a bit easy just to be like, I like those songs, great film. But this is a very good soundtrack, and all songs are really well placed, as we'd expect from Sofia Coppola as a director, but they all place themselves brilliantly within the relationship and within the time period of the relationship to kind of pull out certain thematic motives as we step along them in the film. Great soundtrack, actually. Really, really great stuff. But what about you guys? Have you seen Priscilla? I believe it's about to come out in the UK, but has had some previews over Christmas. It release dates, huh? In 2020, who knows what's going on with films anymore? If you have seen Priscilla, let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. We'll have a little chat. As I said, lots to look forward to on the channel over the coming month, not least my best of 2023 video, which should be a lot of fun whenever the hell that drops. I promise it won't be too long, but you know, you always feel like you want to see that one extra film to make sure you can solidify things. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that when it does drop on the channel. The link is down there, as well as links to my socials, all of that good stuff. I'll see you guys very, very soon for some more thoughts on more films, but until next time, I'm obviously just going to go listen to this soundtrack, aren't I? I need to own this thing. How can I get hold of this quicker?